Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadroad.com. It's been a while since I got to hang out with my friend Andy Schectman. He's been traveling the world, sharing his knowledge, sharing the pearls of wisdom about silver and gold investing. Andy, how's it going? How was your trip? Didn't you go to Europe or London or somewhere?
Yeah, it was great, Bix. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for having me. I did. I had a little bit of business in London and the most of it, here, I'll even show you something. I can't believe I did this. We went from London to Amsterdam, and while I was there,
Oh no,
I don't know if you can see this. Can you
a,
see that?
a tattoo. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, I got the palladium and silver, platinum, gold. That's what happens when you party in Amsterdam, I guess, after some meetings in London, you end up doing crazy things. It was fun. It was good to be there and relax a little bit, but glad to be back. And crazy how much stuff has happened in the past 2 weeks, but it's good to be back with you, buddy.
Well, it's good to see you. Let's start with something that has perplexed me for a long time, for the last year or so. The absolute drop off in retail interest and the explosion in industrial silver. What do you think happened? Where are we now with retail? And what do you think happened over the last year with retail?
It to me has, and I've said it on a lot of the shows I've been on. It'll go down as one of the biggest mysteries of my career. I guess it's a massive contrarian indicator. I mean, you're seeing metals go higher in the face of rising real interest rates, in the face of drawdowns off the ETFs, in the face of a rising dollar, in the face of metal being taken off of the exchanges. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Really, since Thanksgiving-ish last year, the demand has kind of waned, and maybe it has to do with the rise of things like Nvidia and the performance of Bitcoin. Not only have we seen all this happen, but we've seen selling into the rally by a lot of people who have been, oh, finally it got back to where I bought it, I'm out. Capitulation, maybe. I don't know. I mean, look, you can, as you know, as well as anyone, the markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. The things that you've talked about forever will come true. It's just a matter of when, because you base a lot of what you talk about upon mathematics, economics, and you sprinkle some old school logic on there, it'll come true, just never when we think. But the public is asleep at the switch. And at the same time, you got the biggest, most sophisticated money in the world, the central banks. Forget about how much money they have. They know the playbook and they are loading up as the public is divesting. I look at it as the biggest contrarian indicator of my career. Now we're beginning to see premiums rise for the first time on Silver Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of lead the way, but just about everything else has bottomed to levels that I'd never seen in my career, where silver bars, kilos that were being bid at $2 over spot are being bid slightly back a spot right now. It makes no sense to me. And I think for those people who want to buy metal, there's never been a better time, not only in how effed up the world is and how scary and crazy things are, but at the same time, the biggest money in the world is using all of this rhetoric and this counterintuitive environment, really, to load up, as the American public is doing the opposite and asleep at the switch.
Well, it's a good explanation of kind of what's going on. Obviously, the cryptos have been moving. As you know, I like to buy silver with cryptos when the cryptos move. And one interesting thought that has been going on, the U.S. Mint and I have a very love-hate relationship. I think it's the most important institution in our entire government. And I used to love the Mint. They made the best coin on the planet, only to be destroyed, literally destroyed in many ways. They have once again stopped making Silver Eagles as of March 1st is the last time they posted that they produced any Silver Eagles, and they did 850,000 Eagles. They should be doing 4 to 5 million a month. They have not posted any Silver Eagle sales, which tells me that Janet Yellen called up Ventures Gibson at the U.S. Mint once again and said, stop. But this time they did stop. Last time, they kind of pushed out a little bit at a time, but this time they have stopped making silver eagles, which makes me think, okay, that means they have no silver in inventory. It also means that they are messing with their hedge book. And they've done this before where they lost $110 million on their hedge book in a year that the price of silver went up, which should not happen. Wait, no, price of silver went down, which should not happen. They literally, they should have made money as the price of silver got. That's how you hedge your book. Price of silver dives, you're covered. The reality of what's going on at the U.S. Mint, they are still on allocation as far as I know, which is completely legal. Andy, you had a couple years back, you had a single investor who had a lot of money, like the estimate was over $1 billion that this person wanted to spend on silver eagles and gold eagles. I think it was mostly silver eagles. They were not able to do that. You filled half the order and filled the rest with gold eagles and maybe some coinage and things like that, which I do think we're going to get to a point where it makes a difference what kind of silver you have. Could, if that entity or another entity came in and said, hey, I want $50 million worth of silver eagles, could that even be done these days? What's your take on what if the big money comes back in on the retail side? What happens? Can these orders be filled?
I had a conversation with my dad about this. We had the good fortune of doing 2 orders last year, both in excess of $50 million. And the first one bought just under 1 million silver eagles, like 900 and some thousand. And we did it in just a couple of days. And premiums back then were pretty high, north of $12 an ounce. This might have been 2 years ago. The second one was last year. And that person actually didn't buy much in the way of silver eagles, mostly in the way of 1,000-ounce silver bars. But to answer your question, my dad said, what are you going to do when you get someone with real money, who comes to you and says, I want to spend $200 million and I'll take anything you have. What are you going to do if they wipe out your entire inventory? Will you take the order? And I had to really think and reflect about that. I mean, look, there's a lot of money out there, man. You got NFL and NBA players signing for 30 million, 40 million a year. And I'm not just choosing those, but what I'm saying is that, I remember 1988 after the Twins won the World Series, Kirby Puckett signed the biggest sports contract then in sports pro sports history, $3 million a year. And now you're seeing numbers get so big that what's going to happen when people wake up and some of these people with really big money say, I'll take everything you have. Could I fill it? Maybe over time, maybe doubtful. I mean, because I might take the order and say, yeah, but you got to give me time to get it. And then I'm reliant upon, Miss Gibson and the Mint to perform because, there's only so much of it out there, and the backdated stuff has really disappeared. And that's one of the things that I noticed recently is that we've begun to, for the first time in almost 6 months, clear up our inventory. That's been, that's why premiums have been so low, because all the dealers are just choking on inventory, and we've sold out of basically all of our backdate silver eagles, which means you're reliant on 2024. So could I do it right now? No, not all in silver eagles. I could get 50 million worth of silver, no problem, but not all in silver eagles. But I really want people to understand that this industry, more than any other, can change at the drop of a hat, because what is really flush one moment is completely the opposite the next. Let me explain. In March and April, now prior to March and April, when Silicon and Signature failed, and you go back 2.5, 3 years, I mean, premiums on silver eagles nationwide were north of $12, $13 nationwide. And I was telling everyone, even as a authorized purchaser for the U.S. Mint, or reseller rather for the U.S. Mint, don't buy it. It's too expensive. There are better things to buy. Even though if I had my choice, it would be silver eagles. And when those banks failed in March and April, we added 14,000 clients in 45 days. It sold out of our Silver Eagles like that. And now I have to make a decision. So I bought a couple 100,000 Silver Eagles from the mint or from the distributors, and was paying over $9 an ounce to buy them. And then, not blaming you for this, I actually thank you for this. I really think that your interview that you did with Jack Sermon, I think I got it right, I hope,
Head
from
of
the
Silver
US.
Eagle sales. Yep.
Yeah, it was one of the two most important interviews I've ever heard. And I'm not kissing your ass, which I would, because I think you deserve the credit. But it was one of the two most important, relevant interviews I've ever heard. The other being Chris Marcus's with Bart Chilton. And I blew my mind. I remember sitting on a raft in my swimming pool, listening to that interview, saying, my God, did he just say this? And I think largely because of that and all of the venom pointed at the mint, they magically came up with 4 million Silver Eagles, and then premiums went, I could buy them for $4. Cost me $450,000. And there's nothing I could do about it. So the point I'm getting at is that, like that, things can change in this industry. And I think that when people wake up in this country, I think they're going to realize that they want gold and silver. And because this move that we've seen, this really strong move, is so ignored by the mainstream, it's unbelievable. And it's so underallocated to the mainstream, it's unbelievable. So what is flush right now in terms of low premiums and good availability, let's just not focus specifically on the Silver Eagles, across the board. That will change in a millisecond, because it is estimated that if you take Joe Sixpack all the way up to the Harvard Endowment Fund, the allocation in gold and silver is less than 0.5%. So if that just increases to 5%, well, it's a tenfold increase in demand. In 10 seconds, it's all gone. So could we do a $50 million order? Yes. In Silver Eagles? No, not unless you want to allow me to rely upon the US Mint to fulfill their monthly and weekly allocations. And I'll say, yeah, I'll get that delivered to you in the next month or two. But short of that, no, that would be a heavy pull right now.
Okay, so in contrast to what has been going on in retail silver meaning the stuff Andy sells, the stuff in coin and bar form that is consumable by your average Joe Sixpack or big family investors, things like that. The other side of this is the industrial. Yep. Industrial silver has been absolutely off the charts this entire time while nobody's buying retail. And that's where the big volumes come in industrial silver. Now, we just had, I have for the past 8 months have been on another quest. This quest has been to expose the fact that we are using massive amounts of silver in solar panels and electric cars. This is part of the war that's going on against the market riggers, I call them the banking cabal that have controlled the price of silver, the price of gold, the price of stocks and bonds and all that. Yep. Western-based, including the regulators and the U.S. government and obviously the big banks and the Federal Reserve. I have been on a quest to show the world that there is massive amounts of silver being, I think, misallocated into solar panels and electric cars, but not because I dislike solar and electric. I love them both. The reality is that it is such a precious resource and scarce resource. It shouldn't be going there. It shouldn't be going. Well, I'm looking at, I learned the solar silver world very quickly. Well, 6 months is quick in my world. Very quickly came to the conclusion that we're being lied to, literally lied to by the Silver Institute and Metals Focus about how much silver is really being consumed. And the beauty of the crossover between solar and the metals market is that in solar, it's pretty much regulated. And you know how much solar has been installed every year. Right. And that's where the shall we say, the rubber hit the road last year. We doubled solar installations globally, which is a massive amount of silver, put us well over 300 million ounces of physical silver. Plus, we stocked up every warehouse, and it's still going on. People are starting to get the idea that last year was huge, and now China is going to double again. I hate to tell the Metals Focus and the Silver Institute, who really want to play this down, but they come out with this silver. Before I get to the World Silver Survey, you have been yelling for a very long time about the Belt and Road Initiative. And when Janet Yellen went to China to tell them to stop making solar panels and stop making electric cars this last weekend, China pretty much patted her on the head and said, thanks for coming, get the hell out. Social media in China was on fire making fun of Janet Yellen. They are
Well, you know, what's interesting about that, Bix?
What's that?
We're talking on Monday, right? So it was Monday last night in China because they're ahead of us time-wise. The Shanghai silver futures market hit a 7% limit up stop Monday morning today.
Wow.
Right away. So, you know, maybe that had a profound effect on the way that they decided to look at silver. Look, silver was up 10% last week alone, but it opened up this morning in Shanghai up 7% limit and you know, triggered the stops for a few minutes. So yeah, and when you talk about the Belt Road Initiative, it's not a small project. It's the largest infrastructure project in human history. It's 75% of human population, 50% of global GDP. And there's a new development in the Belt Road Initiative that I don't think many people know about, and it just happened recently in the last couple of days or weeks. And the Chinese government have launched a new public blockchain infrastructure platform, and the platform is called Ultra Large Scale Blockchain Infrastructure Platform for the Belt Road Initiative. It aims to offer an underlying public blockchain for cross-border applications, according to an April 1st post by the Confluence Network. The main focus of the project is to create a public blockchain infrastructure platform. Platform will be able to support the implementation of cross-border cooperation projects along the Belt and Road Initiative. So when you talk about just how big this could actually be, and you look at the fact that in Shanghai, silver is priced over $3 an ounce higher than it is in the West. They know the real value of silver. It will even be priced higher before this is all said and done. They're just slowly arbitraging everything over. So silver's priced $3 higher. The Shanghai Exchange opens up limit up today. They now have a new trading platform that sidesteps SWIFT that allows these. I mean, it's all coming into place. The infrastructure is being built right in front of us. And that's probably part of the reason too, in terms of silver's really strategic use that you have. I don't know how many companies in Canada and think tanks and groups that have petitioned the Canadian government to relabel silver from industrial to strategic, because you're right, it is strategic and it's disappearing. And without it, you know what you are. You're up a river without a paddle.
And just think, I mean, this is 75% of the population that wants what the 25% have already wasted a lot of silver on, building that infrastructure. I mean, there's so much silver needed, and anything electronic practically needs silver. Even it just for the connectors between the wires, whatever it is, needs silver. My take: there's not enough silver on the planet. Guys like the head of the Silver Institute, the chairman of the board of the Silver Institute. There's only two guys there, but the guy who runs Hecla said, "Oh no, there's plenty of silver available. It's just in the ETFs and in warehouses. Nobody is holding silver for the industrial side. People holding silver in ETF warehouses are investors who will usually, when the price goes up, they buy more. That's just the way investing goes. And just look at the cryptos. Everybody runs into the cryptos when the prices rise. The reality is, no, that silver is not available to the industrial side if they run out of silver, which they are and have. That's why Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary of the United States of America, had to, number one, call the U.S. Mint and say, stop making silver eagles. And number two, fly all the way to China, going from town to town, begging them not to make any more solar panels or electric cars after what, 30 years of yelling at China for being the biggest polluter on the planet. No wonder she got laughed out of China.
Yeah, this is the same brain dead lady who had, while in Russia's backyard, and I say that euphemistically in Brazil, part of the BRICS, one of the charter members, to publicly saying we need to not only sanction these Russian assets, but to confiscate the 380 billion in forex reserves and give them to the Ukrainian effort. So, I don't know why anyone would listen to her. And not only that, she was a horrible Fed chairman and or chairwoman or chairperson, and equally as bad and inept as a Treasury secretary. And I just think that, that's probably why it opened up 7% limit up. They laugh at her and say, you guys, you're crazy. The things that the West is trying to do, I think, is being laughed and mocked at and ridiculed. And that's why you see a country like India, part of the BRICS, import in the last 2 years over 400 million ounces of silver. And isn't it ironic that that's almost about the same amount of silver we've seen bled off of COMEX in the last 2 years? So you start to put these things together and you realize that Zoltan Pozar is right. We're moving into a system where it's all about commodities, and he or she who has the commodities will make the rules. And that's why I think that countries like China, countries like Russia, countries like India that understand this will be in the driver's seat before this is all said and done. And this is why you're seeing the price setting mechanism move. I want to read to you one quick thing, Bix, because I think it's really, really important. And it's important not because I've been talking about the BRICS for 4 years, but it's important because in a greater context, okay? Two things. One is about the BRICS grain exchange, and one is as a Russian finance minister recently talking about a new currency that they want to at some point release, and maybe they talk about it in the meeting here in October in Russia, because it sets the stage for everything you're talking about, right? And all right, so first, he's talking about the currency, and he said it'll be two baskets: a basket of local currencies, the currencies of those countries, but also a basket of commodities. But he says the most important part about this is price. He says, for the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. We produce these commodities and we consume them, but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. He says during the COVID pandemic, the price of oil fell to nearly zero. Now, we know he was wrong. It fell to negative 40, because that's what happens when you've talked about a click of a mouse, you always say, and bang, oil's negative 40, complete and total BS, right? He says it's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control the prices of basic commodities. Here's the kicker. Price formation with this new currency will get rid of Western exchanges of commodities. One other thing, the BRICS grain exchange. Guy talking about it says global prices are primarily determined by the Chicago Commodity Exchange. Moscow also seeks to move away from trading grain for US dollars in favor of national currencies of BRICS member states. The ministry insists that the BRICS countries are the largest grain producers and exporters, but have no leverage to influence the prices of agricultural commodities critical for their food security. The point I'm getting at is that the world understands the importance of pulling all of these commodities off of the exchanges by draining the exchanges, using the BS Western price and sucking it all over there with arbitrage, and bang, like that, they're going to flip the switch. They will own all of the commodities and they will reprice it on exchanges that are cash and carry rather than our fake leverage, like where you say they can put the silver wherever they want with a click of a mouse. That's going to end. And I think that's why when we talk about the things that you are doing so important for humanity, people to listen to, you have to have a bigger mind. You can't just look at today, next week, or what happened last week. You have to see the big picture. And that big picture is beginning to obviously rapidly unfold. But yeah, I think you're definitely going to see silver be viewed, before this is all said and done, not as an industrial metal, more as a strategic metal. And the need for solar panels, screw that. It's more about the need for it everywhere, and all of the uses that you've done an amazing job of telling us where we need silver. And it's disappearing in nature. And unfortunately, the West is the only entity that doesn't realize that. The rest of the world is beginning to notice that.
Well, definitely the powers that be realize it. But again, it gets back to the comics. Ted Butler's done amazing work on that. He has noted as of late that they are way, way above the moving averages. So it is a possibility what they usually do is slam it below the moving averages, and then those tech traders basically sit there and try to cover their they go short, ultimately adding rocket fuel. It is
Well,
so
I don't know if you noticed late last night. I mean, something's different. And
it is so far, yeah, it's so
I
far
hate to
above
say
where they
that
were.
because I feel like Pavlov's dog, like I understand what I mean, they always smash crap out of it. And now we're right where they would want to hit it. It's the commercials have taken the other side of the trade. It's oversold. Okay. But last night, Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, I look gold down 15, $20, silver down 50 cents. And I turn 5 minutes later, I look at it and it's way up. And the point is that something's different. And maybe the West has lost control. And maybe when they accumulate all of the real things like they have, not just the paper side of things, but the real things, messing with shorting and especially naked shorting in a market like this really is about as dumb as a mud wall. So yeah, I think maybe it's different this time. Who knows? But
I
I
think
guess
so.
we
I,
are
I,
at that point where
yeah.
I think we should expect a pullback, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I think because the shorts keep growing, SLV short keeps growing and growing. I don't see. Remember, all shorts have to be closed out, and they have to be closed out by the shorter. The person who shorted it is going to have to turn around and be the buyer to close out their short. And when you have buyers upon buyers upon buyers, like Ted said, that's the rocket fuel. And with shorts, you have unlimited losses. I remember shorting, trying to play the banker game, shorting one of the mining stocks a long time ago. That was the worst 48 hours of my life, being short a mining share that I love mining companies back then. And I'm like, oh my God, I know the banker's going to slam it. I'm going to try to play this short position. I couldn't sleep for 2 days. Right now, the silver shorts should not be able to sleep. And if I am correct that this is the good guys, and there is like serious money and wealth behind what's going on in the COMEX, including China as a buyer. India did just a few months ago open their own silver exchange, the IIBX. I keep a track of that. The world is moving on without the United States, and because we have spread such an amazing story to tell everybody that, hey, these metals have been rigged for a very long time. Putin knows it. Xi knows it. Trump knows it. Biden knows. Everybody knows now. So the end game will not be pretty for the banks. Banks like J.P. Morgan, who is like the biggest criminal bank ever in the history of the world, and they are still the custodian of SLV silver, even though they've busted for rigging the silver market. BlackRock is still involved. BlackRock is a massive player in gold and silver behind the scenes. A guy named Evie Hambro is the guy who runs their department there, and of the Hambro mining family, the Rothschild elite family. All this is coming together, all our hard research, everybody out there who's been stacking and showing the world what's going on in silver. Now's the time to get your physical silver in your own possession. I don't think anything else will survive as the banks collapse, the exchanges collapse. Nothing will be open. We won't even know the price of silver if the banks collapse, because all the exchanges will be shut down. That's the world we're headed into at some point, and it's going to have to be a massive reset. Andy, tell everybody how they can get their hands on physical silver. A lot of people have not, and it is not too late, but it's getting close to being too late. How can they contact you? How can they? I always say whatever Andy's got in inventory, that's what you want, because I mean the shit could fall apart at any moment.
So
Tell everybody how to do it.
don't look at our website. And we have a new website, and we have another new website that's going to be rolled out in June or July at the latest. But the real prices, our better prices, would be if you send us an email at info@milesfranklin, say Bix sent me. You'll get the special pricing list. And we have a very good inventory in stock. Right now we have Silver Eagles, 2024 Silver Eagles, a maximum of 1,500 of them at $5.50 over spot. We got junk silver in stock, $2.75
My
over
favorite.
spot. Yeah, your favorite. We got lots of stuff in stock, but it'll be info@milesfranklin. There's no obligation. Ask questions about anything you heard here, or just ask for the price sheet. and we will hook you up. One other thing that you said, I just want to underscore, you said the shorting in SLV. According to Ted, he says someone or some entity continues to short a truly amazing amount of shares in SLV. New high for the year as of 12,600,000 shares were shorted just today. That's nearly $288 million in one day. And now silver's up 25 cents. I wonder how the day is going for that person. So speaking of that horrible day, you can only imagine. But yeah, just send us an email and make sure you say Bix sent me, because Bix, you got a special place in my heart, and we will treat your people with white glove service. You have my word on that.
Thank you, Andy. And there's no time to wait. I mean, the retail monster is starting to pick up its head a little bit. It's been dormant for a while. I think now's the best, if not one of the last times, before it goes unobtainium, as in Cliff's data, and so many people see this coming. And Andy, I want to thank you for taking care of the Road to Ruta folks for so
Always.
long. All you guys who have already bought from Andy know how great they are and taking care of us. I would say make your final purchases. Now is the time. Janet Yellen came back with her hat in her hand. I really think we are at that point. So, Andy, I want to thank you for all the work you do. I see you everywhere on the internet. I love that about what you're doing. You're spreading the word. Great job. Yeah.
And I never miss anything you put out. A lot of my info I get from you. So right back at you, brother.
All right. We'll talk to Andy later. Thank you guys for following the Road to Ruta. Make sure you like and subscribe this, and send this to all your friends who have no idea what's going on. They can have a quick lesson from Andy and get out there and buy your physical silver. Andy, thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you later.
God bless. See you, Bix.